How to start. Now, most people tell you to start a business when you have an idea. That's not where a business starts. A business starts with a feeling, an instinct that perhaps you need to make a change, and then applying yourself to learning what is the best way to build something that you love. Now, everybody tells me that starting a business is filling a market gap or finding a niche. That is not true. One of my most successful early companies was a company called Fluid. This company turned into one of the biggest agencies in Asia, which I sold to PricewaterhouseCoopers for more money than I'll ever need. And when I launched that company, there was 500 other businesses doing almost exactly the same. So how did I manage to win? I didn't have an original idea like everybody tells you you've got to have to start a business. You don't start with an original idea. You start with what you like doing. Now, I love helping businesses and people succeed. I love marketing. I could spend all day long studying and understanding marketing. Every time someone launches a new business, I want to understand how they made it successful. I'm obsessed. I enjoy it. It's my hobby. There is no work-life balance. There is only syncing up your life with your business. And so I believe the first step in starting a business is following your passions. Now, everybody tells you that that's not the way to start a business because often your passions initially don't necessarily generate revenue. But that's because you haven't applied a business mindset to what you love. So I loved marketing, and I started a creative agency called Fluid that helped people come up with marketing ideas to make their businesses successful. Now, there were many companies doing it, but not many of these people doing it loved it like I did. So I evolved my marketing abilities, pushed the boundaries of what was possible, used new technologies like, at the time, email marketing and direct marketing that no one else was doing because I was obsessed with what is the latest thing. And for you, the way you do it is you've got to write down what you like doing and you've got to write down what you don't like doing. What you love doing, you've got to get really good at. And what you don't like doing, you've got to outsource and not do it. The school system has taught you the wrong thing, that if you're not good at something, you need to spend more time getting better at it. That is a lie. You've got to spend more time getting good at the thing you love to do. Get obsessed by it. And that's actually where a business idea begins. Because once you have figured out what you love doing, the next step is the idea. Now again, people will tell you that you need to come up with an original idea. That's not true. The second thing is when it comes to an idea, you can actually combine forces with other people. So back to my example, when I launched Fluid, I loved marketing. And I met someone who could take my marketing ideas and turn them into graphic illustrations and brilliant presentations and abilities to help that company in a visual way understand my idea. So I teamed up with her and created a 50-50 business partner, and I'll come on to equity later in the video, that was literally the springboard to one of the most successful companies in Asia in this space. So the key is not coming up with an original idea and trying to do it all on your own. The key is coming up with something you love linked to what you do, and perhaps if there's a gap within your ability to execute on what you love, find a partner. So for example, if you love writing, then write a book. And maybe you need to find a partner that can publish that book, or find a company that will publish that book, or get someone to help you, like an agent, find someone that will publish that book. And that's where it really begins. In the idea phase, it's got to link to your passion. And I'll come on to purpose later, but it's key. You won't be able to follow through and probably won't be successful if you're not willing to do the thing that you're doing more often and all the time compared to other people. So, you figured out what you love doing, and now you have an idea. Now, the idea itself can evolve. From my point of view, when I started what I'm doing today, which is a platform to help you for free, the first thing I did was, in fact, a podcast. So the step after idea is step one, execution. And execution involves what is the first thing you can do to make your business idea come to life. And for me, in my example, it was a podcast. But for you, it might be a blog. It might be a LinkedIn post. It might be setting up a social media handle and starting to post up your photography. Whatever the first step execution is, do not make it too hard for yourself. In my case, sitting down, interviewing people I found interesting, recording it and putting it up would serve the purpose of giving people mentorship in a podcast for free, which was my first step in my mission in my recent business. So all I really did was get a microphone, sit down and record conversations. Now, if you go back and look at those very early podcasts, execution was not brilliant. The guests were good, the execution was not great. I had a rubbish microphone, I had a rubbish camera, and I slowly improved. And step one is come up with a simple execution plan. Step two in starting a business is consider where the revenue is going to come from. Now, some people say you need this within the idea phase, and yes, you can put it within the idea phase, but sometimes revenue doesn't actually make itself clear until you start. So an example, if you're a photographer and you think you're going to make your money charging by the hour for your photography skills, you're probably limiting yourself, right? So you're probably better off initially taking pictures of things you love and putting them up online and seeing if people would buy them, seeing if people would license the pictures, experimenting with revenue models and seeing what sticks. Sure, maybe people will book you by the hour, but why would you start off with a revenue model that limits yourself? So I think when building a business, the thing to really think about is not necessarily revenue, but experimenting with different ways to make money from the thing that you are doing. So again, when I launched Fluid, most companies charge by the hour for their marketing consultancy service. We didn't. We charged by the outcome of what we did. So if we helped a company be successful, sell more product, we took a percentage of those sales. Now, that was not part of most companies' business models because most people start with an idea and then they do a revenue model and then they start. A famous quote is, everyone's got a plan till they get punched in the face. And the truth is when you launch a business, you just want to keep yourself nimble, like a boxer. You want to see what is going to be the best punch combination for you to make your business work. And finally, when starting a business, step 3 is you've got to make sure your purpose is strong. Now, you've made sure that you enjoy what you do, and that's great because that's going to help you get up in the morning. But actually, I believe new businesses today need to think about what they're going to do to make a difference in the world. How are you going to make sure that people want to work with you? How are you going to make sure that what you're doing isn't just for profit? Because if it's just for profit, everybody that works for you is going to want more money. Everybody that's working with you is going to want to pay you less. If you have a purpose bigger than yourself and identify that purpose and install it in your business, I promise you, you won't be managing people anymore. One of the biggest stresses of building a company. You won't have to manage people because you will only have to manage purpose. Now, I'm going to go into more depth how this all works, but a lot of what I've talked about here already has cost you no money. You haven't had to spend any money. Now, even if your idea is to launch an app that costs £1 million to develop, start off with a service business. Start off with a revenue-based model that can get you there. So an example is Airbnb. When they launched, they actually sold cereal boxes at conventions. It was enough to be similar to Airbnb because some of the first accommodation that Airbnb ever sold was at conventions. People would go to see Obama speak, go and see different politicians speak at these conventions, and they would rent out rooms on Airbnb later. But initially, they sold cereal boxes, Obama reels, at this event. At these events to get to know their customers, connect to their customers, have a conversation with their customers and make money. And that is the money they used to initially get the business going.